Test, test. Test, test. Jeremy, can you hear me?
I can, bear with me.
Okay.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Candace, hit me up.
Yeah. Test one, two. Test, test, test one, two.
Okay, 1 second.
Did it sound fine?
Hello, Zoom participant. Can you hear me? Hello, Zoom participant. If you can hear me, please say something into your microphone. Hello, Zoom participant. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, very good. I just wanted to check. Thank you. Hello, Zoom participant. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
All right, everybody, let's go ahead. Welcome to this meeting, March 3rd, 2026. It is a special called meeting of the San Marcos ISD Board of Trustees. This is a meeting held in public, not a meeting of the public. You're invited to observe and listen as the board conducts its business during the public forum portion of the meeting. You are welcome to address the board per our published guidelines. All items that will be discussed and voted on this evening have been posted as required by law. In compliance with the State Government Code on Open Meetings Act, this proceeding is being recorded and will become part of the San Marcos CISD permanent legal record. In accordance with state law and district policy, disruptive conduct must be avoided so as not to interfere with the meeting. The board shall not tolerate disruption by any members of the public. This statement serves as the first warning from the presiding officer to the public, and if an individual decides to disrupt the meeting, assistance from law enforcement officials will be requested. Thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for supporting San Marcos CISD. I am calling this meeting to order at 6 o'clock and declaring that we have a quorum with 6 board members in person. I don't believe we have anybody signed up for public forum this evening. And I'm going to request, unless the board has any objection, that we go ahead and move up Item 5, discussion and possible action approving an order canceling single-member trustee elections and declaring the unopposed candidates elected to office as our first item, because we have Mr. Cruz on Zoom, and so that we can do that.
So we need a motion
Yeah.
to move into executive session?
Yes.
Well-
No, I just say, well, I think we should do it in public. I'm just saying we should move that item up first.
Ms. Halsey, I'll make a motion that we approve the order canceling the elections for single-member districts 1 and 3 and declaring the unopposed candidates elected to office.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Can you repeat the
I'll
motion,
second.
please?
He made,
Yes, it was a motion to approve an order canceling single-member district trustee elections for District 1 and 3 and in declaring the candidates unopposed elected to office.
you seconding? Ms. Cantor?
Didn't we do that last week?
Ms. Lopez?
Didn't we?
No, we were waiting.
For the 1 and 2, right?
Okay, so, Mr. Cruz, I know you sent the board a memo. Can you just outline again what actions we are required to take, what our options are, et cetera?
Yes, good evening. I'll be brief. I know we have a lot of stuff to do today. So, as you know, there's 3 trustees up for election in our precinct, I should say. One single member District 2 does not have anyone running for that particular seat. So when you, coming between May 5th and May 13th, that's when the board can canvass election results. At that time, the board will declare that there is no one running for that position, so that position legally would become vacant. Once that position becomes vacant, whenever you have your meeting between May 5th and May 13th, then the board can do a couple of things. The first one is that you can appoint somebody to fill that slot, and that person will basically be able to be appointed by the school board and assume all duties and responsibilities. Or number 2, you can call for an election. The election could be held this November, and obviously we have a statutory deadline in August to call for that election. If the board proceeds to go ahead and appoint somebody, then that can be done either just by the will of the board, the majority of the board members, or you can take applications by any person that may be interested in, either like a interview, sort of. So it's really up to the school board, however you wish to proceed in that direction. Keep in mind that the person that does get appointed by the school board will only be able to be in that seat through May of 2027, at which time that person would have to run for the 2-year term remaining in office.
Thank you. I have a question. If, knowing that the seat will be vacant in May, if the board decides to appoint somebody to that position, can we start that process now, or do we have to wait until the seat has actually been canvassed and officially declared vacant?
If the board wishes to proceed with, any application stuff, you can start with that process already now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Hernandez?
Thank you, President Halsey. Mr. Cruz, I know you referenced that there is a possibility of a special election to be called on like the November general election date. If we were to appoint somebody sooner rather than later, let's say, middle of May, if we start this process now, as Ms. Halsey referenced, can they run in that November election to then be elected to the full unexpired term, or can anyone? Or I know you specifically mentioned May. Could a November election suffice the remainder of the term if they were elected to that position in November? Or is it statutorily related to that May general election?
No, the board would have the option to either call for that special election, either this November, or you could, have that person run in May of 2027. It's up to the board.
But if they did run in November, if that's when we called the election, they would fill the remainder of the term if elected, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
So is there?
And just so that we're clear, we are canceling the election for all 3 seats.
So, Ms. Halsey, just to explain my motion, I'm comfortable canceling the elections for 1 and 3, and I'm fine canceling the election for 2. I was just hoping as like a board, we would understand what that process looked like after canceling for District 2, right? So I'll do 1, 2, and 3 tonight if we discuss appointment, special election in November, special election in May of 2027. I just kind of want to have an understanding of tonight, so as we do that, we have like a public-facing message to the community, whatever that jives out to be at the end of this evening. So that's the only reason why I did 1 and 3, but I'm happy to go back
Okay.
and amend to 2 as well.
So can we make that determination tonight? Are we appropriately agendized to do that, or do we need to do that at the regular March meeting? Because our agenda item is for canceling single member elections, and then we have the closed session. I just want to make sure before we get into this that we actually can do it.
Ms. Halsey?
Yeah.
Or can we at least like establish like a general understanding, maybe? Like, I'm cool with that too. I'm just trying to figure out like where my colleagues are as far as
Sure.
a direct appointment, special election November, May, etc.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure that if we need to vote on something, that we can actually vote on it, but I think we can probably discuss it under this item. Mr. Cruz looks like he's looking up the answer.
Yeah, you cannot appoint or call for the special election tonight. You can only cancel the election. That's the agenda item. But you can certainly discuss how people are feeling with respect to the next step, which is either appointment or calling for the special election.
Okay. Then I'm happy to offer my initial thoughts on that, which I think that this is a new situation certainly for me, but my feeling would be that I would feel like it'd be a good idea if we opened up an application process sooner than later. Maybe if we can get it onto the March agenda to open it up, have the application process open for several weeks. I think we would need to look at criteria, and I think really the criteria is what is set out by the state in terms of who can and can't be on a school board. Ask for applications, set up a meeting for the board to review the applications and take it to a vote. That would be, to me, the most fair and democratic process. I also think it would be most fair to that person to let them serve a full term so that they would be on the next election in May. So those are my thoughts.
Ms. Halsey? I agree with you. I guess I'm not indifferent to either having them run for the seat in November or May. If we have the opportunity for them to run in November, I think that they should. But I'm interested in a public-facing process, accepting applications, reviewing them. I think anyone who wants to serve up here should go through some type of process to serve, so.
Other thoughts?
So tonight, we're just canceling it, and we're gonna wait to put it on.
You're not on the mic.
Mr. Cruz, sure, I have a question for the council.
Go ahead.
Mr. Cruz, does the appointed, if the school board chooses to appoint someone for District 2, killed it. Does that person, must that person reside in District 2?
That's a good question, and the answer is yes, that person must reside in District 2.
Okay.
Ms. Cantu, did you have a question?
I had asked that question earlier, and I think you and I had talked about that earlier in the day, that they had to reside in that district. So when we look at accepting applications, I think we need to make sure that we publicize that they have to be from that single-member district.
I guess on the question in November or May, I think there's a good argument to be made for moving the school board elections to May. But, I mean, to November, but that's not really the question here. Like, we're in May now, and as long as we're in May now, I think the cadence of us having an election in May, I mean, I could be talked out of this, but my initial impression would be having an election in May would make the most sense to me.
Since we have Mr. Cruz on the video, I have a question for him. In the past, we had discussed May elections versus November elections. Was there something in the LULAC agreement that we had to keep them in May? Do you remember?
I would have to go back to that order. I don't have it in front of me, but, you know, before when we run into issues about moving the dates, the organization has been very cooperative with the school board, so I don't really think that that would be an issue whatsoever.
Thank you.
Ms. Holden? Yep. As far as the November, May thing, again, I'm not burning this thing down for November or May, but seeing as how we are very much likely going to appoint someone for like a full year, because we know the vacancy, we'll probably discuss this in March, we'll probably have enough time in April and May to do this application interview process, like they are effectively going to serve a full year. I would just assume that like having somebody elected by the people sooner rather than later would be beneficial, but I'm cool with waiting until next May as well.
All right, unless there are other questions, then I think that what we should do.
I'll modify my amendment to include 1, 2, or modify my motion to be canceling the elections for 1, 2, and 3 and declaring.
All three canceled.
Yeah.
And do you second that? Okay. Then I think that before we vote, then we should ask administration to research the appointment process and the way other districts conduct it, and to bring us in at our regular March meeting dates and a process and a recommendation for how we make that appointment by the May meeting.
Cool.
We just have one for Medina Valley ISD, and it's following the kind of the same process that you all will be following. So I believe it may be on the website, but if it's not on the website, then we can certainly get it from them and send it over to Dr. Cardona.
Terrific, thank you. All right, without any other questions, all in favor? Oh, sorry, Dr. Cardona needs to read something before we do this.
I get to insert myself into this. Certification of the unopposed candidates for other political subdivisions, not county. Do I have to read it in Spanish? No? Okay. The presiding officer of governing body as the authority responsible for having the official ballot prepared, I hereby certify that the following candidates are unopposed for election to office for the election scheduled to be held on May 2nd, 2026. List office and names of candidates. Trustee, single member District 1, Jessica Kane. Single member District 2, none. trustee, single member District 3, Sandra Sepulveda Lopez.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? That motion carries 6-0. The next item is the agenda preparation for the regular March 23rd meeting. Dr.
May I be excused?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, good evening. For the March 23rd, 26th board, regular scheduled board meeting, we will have student recognitions under the superintendent's report. Item 6, reports and information items. A, academic team will be presenting the TAPER district annual report. Item 7 of consent agenda items, approval of minutes for special board meeting on February 12th, 2026, regular board meeting on February 23rd, 2026, and special board meeting on March 2nd, 2026. Item B, consider approval of budget amendments.
We currently have one, and that's just recognizing some revenue from TASB for some insurance money that we got. So we'll be recognizing that money into our fund balance.
And that's for the hail damage.
Yes, sir.
Item 8, items for action. A, academics. 1, consideration and possible action to accept changes to the SLAC challenge form. Item 8B, operations. We have a placeholder. It's for an easement.
Yes, we're going to have an easement for the Goodnight Pond as part of the 2023 bond construction. It's a water quality access easement.
Item C, procurement. 1, consideration and possible action regarding the approval of awarded contracts for safety and security services. C2, consideration and possible action regarding the approval of awarded contracts for kitchen repair services. Item D, finance. 1, consider approval authorizing the tax resale property held in trust suite number 20-2544.
We'll need to add an item, then E, for appointing, the process for appointing somebody to the board.
Item E, school board.
Hold on, before we go to E, what is D1?
Linebarger reached out to us about a property. It's one of those, we haven't dealt with this probably in about 7 years. A property that for sale, I guess.
It was on foreclosure, and then
Yes.
it didn't get sold. So now they want to sell it so they can get it back on the tax roll. So the reason that the board has to approve it is because we kind of own property around here. It's not particularly ours, but we have to give approval to sell it. But because it's under the tax amount, we have to give approval.
Is there a way that you could include on the agenda the address?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Thank
there'll
you.
be a packet of that information.
No, I mean not in the packet, in the agenda.
Oh, yes.
Thank
sure.
you.
All right, item 9, closed session is authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.074, and 551.076. A, consultation with legal counsel regarding JDR minor by and through his parents and next friends David Rowley and Rachel Rowley, and JMR minor by and through his parents and next friends David Rowley and Rachel Rowley versus San Marcos CISD CA number 125-CV-01545-RP in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Texas Austin Subdivision. We will have the TASB attorneys presenting to y'all some information in closed session. Item B, deliberation regarding safety and security, including safety personnel systems, intruder audit reports, infrastructure, and/or devices. Currently, we don't have anything yet, but we are in the process of interviewing for school marshals. Item 10, the board will reconvene in open session to take action if necessary on items discussed in closed session. Item A, discussion, possible action regarding settlement demand in the matter of David Rowley and Rachel Rowley and JMR minor by and through his parents and next friends David Rowley and Rachel Rowley v. San Marcos CISD, CA number 125-CV-01545-RP in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Texas, Austin Division. And Madam President, that is all we have currently for the agenda.
Do any trustees have anything to add? Seeing none, we will move back into item 4, the budget workshop, beginning with the human resources update.
All right, good evening. I'll be presenting along with Claudia Peterson on the HR update, and then we'll transition to the other departments. So today I'll be providing an overview of our district staffing process, including how we plan, allocate, recruit, and monitor our workforce to ensure every classroom is staffed with a highly qualified educator. Our goal is to give the board a high-level understanding of our systems and strategies in place, the current staffing landscape, and priorities moving forward. So our purpose and outcomes. Staffing is one of our most important responsibilities in our school district because people are our greatest investment and have the greatest impact on student outcomes. Our focus on a few primary outcomes is ensuring every student has access to a qualified teacher, aligning staffing decisions with enrollment and program needs, and maintaining financial responsibility and sustainability. Tonight's presentation is intended to provide transparency into the process while keeping the focus at a strategic level. So some of our guiding principles, as you can see on our diagram, our staffing decisions are grounded in a set of principles that help ensure consistency and fairness across the district. First, we prioritize student-centered decisions, meaning staffing is aligned with our student needs. Second, we focus on equity across campuses to ensure our resources are equally distributed and appropriately. Third, we maintain financial stewardship, recognizing that staffing represents the largest portion of our budget. We also ensure compliance with state requirements and approach staffing in a strategic workforce planning process rather than a reactive hiring process. I'm going to now transition to Ms. Peterson.
So here is the annual staffing cycle that follows a structured process to prepare for each new school year. During the fall, class rosters are reviewed with campus leaders to account for enrollment. That's going to be based on demographic changes that may affect school zoning. And then adjustments are made in order to balance those class sizes. In the winter, we look at snapshot data, which is collected, and then we develop our enrollment projections and forecast staffing vacancies for the upcoming year. During the spring, we begin having those staffing allocation meetings with our principals and our department directors. Staff must meet the March 6th certification deadline. Then after spring break, we open up the transfer window for teachers to apply for a campus transfer. Once that closes, our HR department begins posting vacancies. And then the first week of May, we begin issuing out teacher contracts. And then the last phase here in the summer is HR will begin our process for new hires, and then we prepare for the new school year by conducting weekly orientation sessions. So as you will see here, this cycle ensures accurate enrollment planning, strategic staffing decisions, and smooth onboarding for the upcoming academic year. We now transition to what those allocation meetings consist of. So at the end of February, we're meeting with special program allocations. That is with HR. Then we meet with the dual language director specifically, and then our SPED director. Beginning of March, we as a leadership team, HR and finance, we review those allocations and those numbers together. And then second week of May, we meet with our principals, and then we go over all those projections and staffing allocations. So now we'll go into a little bit more detail here on the factors that are involved on how we determine these allocations. So it's really through a structured process to ensure that the campuses are appropriately staffed while we remain compliant and financially responsible. So here's how our HR department supports this process. We use projected student enrollment numbers to estimate how many teachers and support staff will be needed. These projections form the foundation for determining overall staffing levels at each campus. We then ensure allocations comply with state laws and mandates that are required for teacher-to-student ratios, certification requirements, and program compliance standards. Based on our district goals and state guidelines, HR then calculates the number of classroom teachers required to meet those class size targets. This ensures that we have an equitable distribution of students that are manageable for our instructional environments. HR also accounts for required staffing and specialized programs such as these, which is our special education, bilingual, ESL, and then our career and technical education. And then we also look at any other federally or state mandated programs. These programs often have additional compliance requirements that directly impact staffing formulas. We then collaborate with our campus leadership to align staffing allocation, which includes our master schedules, course offerings, and then our instructional models. Scheduling needs can influence the number and type of positions that are allocated. Finally, all staffing decisions must align with our district budget. Therefore, we work closely with the finance department to ensure allocations are sustainable and within funding limits while still meeting student and program needs. In summary, HR serves as the bridge between student enrollment, legal requirements, instructional priorities, and financial constraints. By analyzing these factors together, we ensure campuses are staffed strategically, equitably, and in compliance with regulations, ultimately supporting student success. I'll transition now back to Ms. Munoz.
All right. So as we look at staffing, we understand that there are several different influences and challenges in education. And so these are a few that we face while staffing, which may look like the statewide teacher shortages in critical certification areas. Also looking at a competitive labor market, certification pipelines, and those limitations along with substitute availability. Our enrollment has fluctuated here and there, and then our mid-year turnover in teachers, those all create some complexities. And while these are challenging, they're not just challenging for our district alone. And so it does require us to have very intentional planning and innovative solutions, which our response to these challenges is we've implemented several proactive strategies, like our partnerships with the universities through our teacher residency program. And thank you to our board members and staff who were able to attend our tour. That was giving insight and highlighting some of our rock star teachers that are mentoring our future teachers. We have some targeted efforts and retention strategies that are focused on supporting our staff in success, like our longevity pay that we have focused on maintaining those 5-year plus teachers. We also are continuously refining our staffing models and our workforce supports through items like our OHI, or Organizational Health Index, making sure that we're serving our campuses and seeing what's working and how to sustain that culture. So these efforts position our district to remain competitive and help in our workforce environment.
I have a question before you go on to the next slide.
Sure.
How many positions have become vacant during the school year in a classroom teacher?
To date, I believe 3.
3 across all campuses?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So how we monitor this, we maintain systems to maintain potential risks and ensure compliance. This includes certification compliance, class size requirements, vacancy tracking, substitute fill rates, and retention indicators. Regular monitoring allows us to address concerns early and minimize disruptions to students and campuses. So in summary, before we shift over, it's a year-long process for our staffing. So we're consistently monitoring every week what our vacancies look like, forecasting if we have campuses saying, okay, we foresee a retirement that's going to happen at the end of the year. We know that's a hard to fill position. We need to get that posted immediately. And then making sure it's aligned to our student needs. We actually, like Ms. Peterson said, we meet with our directors. We met with our dual language and special ed last week, and we plan to meet, and we have those on our calendar with campus principals for this upcoming week to then collaborate and talk about the staffing for next school year. So I will now shift it over to our CFO.
Okay, so we're going to do a brief overview on our special ed funding. Here you'll see we have two buckets. We have state funding and federal funding. So our state funding comes from an allotment. Again, it's based on weights for our students. So the different areas of instruction, you get different weights for these students. So that is how the allotment comes in. We also received this year a new allotment, and it's the FIIE, which is the full individual and initial evaluation allotment. So that's going to bring in additional money into the district. And then at the bottom there, we have federal funding, which right now we receive funding from IDEA B formula and from IDEA B preschool. For our federal funding, we get about $1.9 million, and as you can see, we spend it all. So all of the money is spent. We spend 1.6 on compensation, and then contracted services about $245,000. So every single dollar from our federal fund is used. Next, if you look at our special education expenditures, if you look at the top part, that is our budget, our expenditures for special ed. Again, you can see our compensation is the largest amount, that's $13 million. We have contracted services in the amount of 1.2, and then we have supplies and travel, which is 71 and 44, for a total budget of about 14.5 million. And on that summary of finance, our allocated revenue was 11.2. So the district is contributing about $3.2 million to fund our special ed students. I'm going to transition it to Mr. Marcus.
In our last meeting, the question was posed about our contracts and what kind of contracted services that the district works with. So we wanted to provide a quick glance here. These are our special ed contracted service providers, and we kind of just have them listed year to date. This would be about 2/3 of the cost of what we would normally pay throughout the year. So we just kind of wanted to provide that information. It was requested. We know that we do currently have a lot of service providers, contracted service providers, and it's just, I think it's a factor of the current needs of our district and not having these individuals that we have in-house. So, yeah.
Good evening, President Housley, trustees, and Dr. Cardona. I'm going to talk about just some key takeaways of what we're seeing in the district as it relates to special education. Right now, the district, similar to other districts, we're having challenges to fill hard-to-fill positions, and those are primarily our related service providers. Right now, under PIC 23 for special education, we have 13 vacancies. 2 are instructional, 1 teacher, 1 IA, but then the remainder are our OTs, our occupational therapists, our speech language pathologists, our physical therapists, our DIAGs, our school psychs. Those are hard to fill positions. So what we're doing to ensure continuity of services and ensure that our students are not receiving any gaps of services, we are contracting with providers to ensure coverage for those services. We're also seeing an increase in students as well as in intensity. What we're seeing right now, we have roughly right now 21.7% of our students overall receiving special education service. That's an increase of 2% from the year previous, of 19% and 2% increase from the year prior at 17%. Not only are we seeing an increase in student population, but as well as in needs, as defined by more structured setting, high needs as it relates to academics, as well as functional behavioral. We're seeing, and we can draw in that data and see those students based on their instructional setting. Right now, we have roughly 11% of those students receiving services in that setting, compared to 9% the year prior. So we have an increase in student needs as well. As it relates to our personnel impact, as HR discussed, we have started projections. We are pulling projections and forecasting for next year. However, it is fluid process because of our committee decisions. So that might change when it comes to May, but we're doing our best based on current data and our committee decisions to make those projections as accurate as possible. Thank you.
So we showed you this slide on our February budget workshop, and so we are entering the month of March. During this time, as HR mentioned, we have the conversations with our departments, and we are moving into conversations with campuses regarding budget allocations and getting feedback from principals. We've also are at a point where we look at preliminary funding, just tracking our title and state comp and the information we've been getting back from TEA and our region center, that there's not going to be much of a change in the amount of funding, and that we do expect the funding from a lot of our ESSA to continue to come through, as well as IDEA B and the other federal funds that we receive. So we'll be looking at those to try and project out. And then we are also going to be hoping to get some feedback from principals on their needs and concerns. As we move into April, for this next month is where we really want to present these next steps. We want to have a compensation consideration in our next budget workshop and be able to get some feedback from the board. We'd like to review current staffing and operating costs with you so that we can kind of look at menu items of the different things that we are currently using or have in the district, and maybe what some things that we want to continue to move forward with, as well as any potential increase or changes in salary compensation. So that would be our budget proposal and our staffing proposal. Now we also get our updated revenue projections. Now it's going to be in late April, so we won't have those values to have a more precise projection of our revenue. However, we will still, we've been tracking it throughout the year, so I think we're on pace and we shouldn't be far off from what we are using now and what we'll see when we get our preliminary certified values. All right, thank you.
Questions from the board? Mr. McLaughlin?
I appreciate the summary of what staff is doing, but I feel like now we're into March and I haven't seen numbers, like even at the projected stage of revenue and expenses, and if we don't see numbers before May, it's very difficult for the board to shape the budget into the board's collective and the district's priorities. So I would like to see these updates transition from here's what we're doing to here's questions we need answered, because I don't feel this is as interactive as maybe I would consider a workshop should be. This is more like a presentation, which is good. I like the presentation, but if it comes to us in May, there's not a lot we can do to shape it.
So we can send you the information we previously provided that kind of has what we think, remember the 3 spreadsheets, which has the numbers, but I don't know if you're looking for anything more specific.
Presentation we had last month had some numbers attached to it with some kind of flexibility in terms of ADA changing and some of the things that we were still waiting to see if it was going to come through. I know, I don't have it with me, but I know that we started
So
getting numbers already.
the revenue that we presented last month, I
time.
believe, yeah. I mean, we don't have any changes to that because we don't have any other updated information. Like Mr. Alvarez said, we'll get our preliminaries values in April, but that won't be till late April. But we can certainly use those numbers. that
I've
we
seen
have.
revenue numbers.
Revenue.
But I haven't seen any, unless I missed it,
Expenditure.
spending numbers.
Right.
And so I hear in isolation that we've had a sped percentage jump 4% in 2 years. And I know that has a dollar impact, but it's not, I can't tell you what it is because I haven't received that.
And the majority of that is compensation, and that is the meeting that we just had last week. And so now we're gonna meet with all the principals and all the campuses to go over all those allocations, so we will have that information.
And our plan is, we do collaborate with our principals and we say, this is what we're projecting based on enrollment. So if no salary changes happened and our year rolls over, then this is with our allocations and what they're being paid now, what our compensation will look like, which then will be shown with our revenue. So once we share, this is our projections for staffing, roll over the new year, Denise's team can then say, this is how much it's going to cost us with the current salaries.
So do you think that even though we won't have the updated revenue projections at the next agenda prep meeting, that we can at least put those two sets of numbers together, knowing that they might change a little bit when we get the.
Yes.
Mr. Arredondo?
Thank you, Ms. Halsey. I guess I understand the macro process. When we talk about like needing to wait for revenue projections, I would just operate under the assumption that we are like planning for a deficit budget, right? Like, hopefully it's not the case, but I would assume that we're all working under the assumption that we're not going to have enough money to pay for all of the things. So you are still going to present us a deficit budget when this thing comes out in May, right? So with that assumption being understood, is there any, when you say like, well, we're waiting for like revenue projections to talk to campus principals to do like a
Just to give you a
thing?
more updated number, but
And yeah, I hear that, but again, it's not like we're basing allocations on, well, Crockett, stay within your budget because it's probably going to be over regardless. And same thing for like every campus, right? So I agree with Mr. McLaughlin. I understand that there's like a process and this exchange of numbers and data, but I don't think it's based on projected revenue because we know the projected revenue is not going to be enough, right?
correct. And usually we give all of our campus and departments their allocations, and it's right before spring break. So they will be getting theirs, and then we'll be reviewing that. And that's when we're going to put everything together to show you what those expenditures are with a estimated revenue, and then we'll change that revenue in late April, May, when we actually get the numbers. So that'll be put together.
And then my like second question, just based on like my own curiosity, is when it comes to like classroom teachers, so like core subject areas, I'm assuming that is just kind of like a calculation, right? I mean, you have 400 kids, they're in certain grade levels, you divide them, you level the classes, this is how many classroom teachers I need, right? Okay. So separate from that, what like flexibility is there with like campus leadership? Like, I guess for instance, we got an email from a community member saying they want like another fine arts teacher at Miller, right? Okay, great. Once upon a time, yeah, sure, you got it, right? 4 of us vote on it, here's the money. But now I guess what I'm trying to understand is, does like the principal at a campus get to say like, instead of an art teacher, I want a theater teacher, or instead of a woodshop teacher at a junior high, I want somebody to do X, Y, and Z? And I would be interested in like understanding those decisions and seeing what that looks like, because I'm just curious, right? So again, it was I guess suggested to me like not to reply to the parent, let it go through the process. But I guess I'm unfamiliar with like what that process looks like as far as campus leadership. Like, who gets to decide like a fine arts FTE is more or less important than somebody else, right? I guess that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around.
So we do look at master schedule, determine how many sections are going to be offered, how many teachers are going to need to teach. So you, it's a formula, right?
Yeah.
You take how many classes students are going to be going to, how many teachers are, or how many class periods are teachers going to be teaching because they have a conference period. And then for our secondary campuses, they do have a PLC for tested areas. So they may not all teach 7 classes. They may teach 6 because they're a tested area and they have more planning periods. So we do all of that. We determine how many sections are going to be offered. And then that determines how many teachers based on student numbers will be allocated. Then what we'll be meeting next week with principals is, okay, after your course selections with our academics team, which the counselors at the secondary level get the course tallies and they say, okay, so many students want to, and Ms. Cantu knows, she was a counselor, so many students are wanting to be in PE, are wanting to be in band, are wanting to be in art, in theater, and then that determines what the need, and the principal will make a suggestion and say, look, I have a lot of students this coming year who really want to be in theater. While I don't have that many students wanting to be in art, my recommendation is going to be, we make these staffing changes. So it's all student-centered, but we also have to look at the data provided by our academics team, and then our principal has the seat at that table to say, this is what my campus is needing, and our academics, finance, and HR are there to say, yep, we can do that, or based on your data, this is what we're seeing. So it's a collaborative approach.
And when does that happen in the timeline?
This coming week.
So you'll know, like I'll know if that parent's request went through the process and got fulfilled by next week. So I could ask you like, hey, are we getting that new position next week? Okay.
We will publish to principals, and then at that time, after spring break, they will meet with their departments because we want our principals to have that communication. Not, we wouldn't communicate that to campuses. It would come from the principal. They would share that back out with their teams.
Mr. McLaughlin?
I want to follow that strand just for a little bit so I understand like information control. So that the query we got from the parent was super specific. Like, is it 223 kids want to be in theater? How would someone know that?
The teacher emailed the parents.
Yeah,
So the teachers know like what the kids' selection numbers are, or
my understanding from the counseling team and the principals, that 6th grade rolling up into 7th grade and 7th grade rolling up to 8th grade was not yet determined. The guidance that I got from the director of counseling, that process is still happening. So we will know likely by the end of the week what course tallies look like. So I'm not really sure accuracy yet that that's been shared with campuses quite yet.
so when you decide, if the principal decides I'm going to have one theater teacher, then you just don't honor some of those requests because they're ranked selections, right? So if you had 223 that wanted to be in theater, you had room for 150, then we just have 150, right? We don't just overload the classes.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
And so, sorry. So just to go back to the 263 specific number, so that was just like based on the grade before numbers, right? That's where that parent got that, or that was from the teacher specifically knowing this is how many people have filled out the course selection form, and I know that, and I'm going to start politicking and lobbying electeds.
Likely, to be honest, I did not go in and, that's at the campus level right now, so I've not gone in to investigate. Where's your source? How did you get that number?
Sure.
I'm sure I will ask that during our staffing meetings, like, where did this number come from? How many do you have projections? But at this point, the data from academics isn't yet published for our eyes yet. We will get it by end of week.
For sure, and I appreciate that information, and I'm obviously understanding and accepting of the process, and obviously I would assume that every course director or facilitator wants, if they're overloaded with selections, to be staffed at what they think is ideal. I know me and Ms. Cantu can probably talk about like what we think counselors should be staffed at based on like national suggestions. We just don't live in that world anymore, unfortunately, right? So as we communicate these decisions out in a public-facing way, I mean, again, I remember when we voted to put art facilitators and GT facilitators and parent liaisons and all of the things at every campus. And that was a fun time to be on this school board, I will admit. But obviously, I'm just like not there anymore. So I appreciate this information, understanding more of the process that y'all go through with staff. In that same vein, though, if there are 250 kids that want to be in an athletic period or 150 kids who want to be in an art class at a campus, I do not want that to be decided by y'all, quite frankly, at a campus level when it comes to like a budgetary standpoint. Like if I can overstaff art because a bunch of kids want to be in art right now at Crockett, like I would like to have that conversation as a board member, right? And if I have to like tussle up here to solve that issue, I would much rather do that than say like 300 kids who want to be in athletics can't be in athletics because we only have so many coaches, right? So I do want to be somewhat a part of that process, knowing that y'all are doing an intentional and like deliberative exercise at a campus and district level. So thank you.
Mr. McLaughlin.
A question on that fine arts, the middle schools, in secondary schools, do we fund any of those positions through stipends to teachers in other subjects like we do in sports? Or do we only have fine arts teachers where that's the subject they teach?
Correct. Unlike some of our other extracurricular classes, our fine arts are just in their fine arts sections, whereas other teachers might be coaching math or coaching football and teaching math. And so that works a little bit different as far as their sections. Our fine arts are only in their sections. At the high school level, they may be helping out build their pipeline and going down to middles. So you may see that you have high school teachers going and helping out as well at middle schools.
Is that the same, or do you know, is that the same way it's managed at neighboring districts? Because it's a lot less expensive for us to fund a position through a stipend than it is for us to fund a full-time position that only does that.
Correct. When we do our stipend surveys, that's traditionally what we see.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I would ask that when we resume this conversation in April, with the numbers that we have, I would like to see a projection with a balanced budget. And then I'd like to see detail on if we're going to have a deficit budget, what that will cover and what that, like to Mr. McLaughlin's point, or Mr. Arredondo's point about if we're going to assume additional costs for overages, which I'm not opposed to, but I just want to know exactly what it is, like what we're covering and what we need to spend a deficit for to have or not to have.
Something. I think as a board member, we have to leave some decisions to our administrators in terms of working with master schedule, distribution of staff. I think that the principals and administrators know better as to where the needs are. I like that we have so much of an interest in what's being offered, but I think my role, and I've always thought that we have certain limitations in terms of what we can say, because building a master schedule takes time. Then the counselors have to put it together to make the schedule, and then the schedule should be based on what we can afford. Now that is our decision, deciding what we can afford and how much in debt we want to go into or how much of a deficit we want to have for our school district. But I think that we almost have to depend on our high school principals and our 2 middle school principals in terms of what their needs are. But I know that back in my day that we did master schedule in January, we ran schedules, the first draft of schedules, by March. So when the kids left in March, we had a stack of them run already. And by March, you have a good indication as to how many teachers you're going to need for the different departments. And so I think it's a really tricky subject to work on. And for us to make this finite decisions about how many art classes are going to be offered, I don't see that as my role. Yes, Mr. McLaughlin?
Oh, I wasn't interrupting you. I was just getting in line. I
You wanted to be next.
I wanted to be next, but I don't want to interrupt you. Are you done?
Those are my thoughts, because I've been there and done that, and I know that it's a tough decision for our principals as to, these are our needs in terms of teachers. Now, when you present our budget to us, you can tell us this is what they're asking for, and then it's our job to decide if we're willing to go into a bigger deficit by adding more staff or raises. And those are big decisions, and I think that that's where the board is very important. I mean, that's one of our important roles, deciding the budget and how much of a deficit do we want to carry into the following year. So I pray every day that we have a lot of attendance, that our attendance is 95 or better, because that creates money for us, and that helps the current year not have such a big deficit. That's what I understood from all the presentation, even though as a counselor, you don't deal with the overall budget, but you know that you got to have money to pay your people. And it was interesting to me today from the special ed presentation, all the specialists we need and how they have to be contracted. And those specialists are costly. Special ed is a high cost area. I've always thought of that. And I never worked in special ed, but I think it's scary to not have the people or the personnel that are qualified to help our students with special needs. And now I'll be quiet.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Okay. I agree with most everything Ms. Cantu said. I'm going to make a budget information request, and nobody gasps. I'm not saying I want to do this. I'd like to know what the budgetary savings would be from converting Bonham to a kindergarten center, removing kindergartners from the elementary campuses, and closing Travis. Just for the next budget workshop. I don't want to do it, but if it's $8 million, I'd just like to know.
Are you saying to eliminate pre-K?
Yes.
Okay. And then I would like to get an update on the additional money that the state owes us and where we're at with that, because I think last time we talked, it was about $4 million that TA still has yet to pay us, and last we heard we were maybe hoping to get it in October, but at the April meeting, I'd like to get new information on that.
It's 2.8 for this year and 4.3 for next year that is being held up. And I do want to say something about the master schedule. I think Mr. McLaughlin was probably alluding to this. And when academics, HR, and finance are meeting with the principals, there could be leeway in 6th grade with certifications. You know, at 6th grade, a reading K6 certification can do like an intro fine arts, you know, so I know they do have those conversations. And we move like orchestra, they help out down at the middle school, but that is an area where you could look at if somebody has an open and they're a reading teacher and I don't know, they love theater, they could pick up a section.
Any other questions? Ms. Kane?
I also want to echo that I don't want to micromanage each individual decision. If, as stuff is coming, I think kind of tagging on to President Halsey's idea of balanced versus what the deficit might look like, I would like to see, this is kind of our wish list of staff. If we're going into this deficit, these are the most important positions based on all of these conversations. And then I just had a question about the figuring out enrollment. It makes sense to me. We have kids in 3rd grade this year. They're going into 4th grade. Okay. But we don't know how many preschoolers and kindergartners especially. How do y'all, I know there's demographics, how do you come up with the projected number of kindergarteners for next year?
So yes, we roll up every grade level, but then kindergarten we duplicate. And then those that, so kindergarten right now we duplicate, and it's the same number for next year on our projections. And then we have a student transfer window that just closed, and so our academics team shared that data on who is maybe saying, I'd like to go to this campus. So then we ensure that those numbers are accounted for. And then Bonham, wherever they're zoned, our academics team provides us their zoned area, and we like put a placeholder for those students. And so it's typically worked every single year. Now, if a whole community decides to move to another zoned area, which did happen this year, then those are things that we may not know until August when they're doing registration, and we have to make some internal shifts once the information's provided.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to circle back on the whole, like, bludgeon me over the head with, like, the whole micromanaging rhetoric. I guess I want to be clear, I'm not asking to, like, weigh in on every FTE decision at a campus. But if for whatever reason a campus does make the decision, hey, this course that used to be popular just isn't anymore, and we're getting rid of it, as like an FYI, it'd be great to know as a part of the budget process, because I can guarantee someone's going to catch me at HEB and ask, and then I'm going to be like, well, I don't know, I was trying not to micromanage, so go talk to the principal. And I really don't like to give that response to parents and students and community members, right? So if after those decisions are made, after y'all have decided, after campus-based decisions have gone through the process, an FYI would just be great and would empower me as a policymaker to kind of like block people as they like come at me at HEB. So, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you very much. Then I would be remiss if I did not congratulate Trustee Villalpando and wish her a happy birthday. Today was declared by the mayor of San Marcos to be Margie T. Villalpando Day. We are grateful for your dedicated service to the district for these many years. We appreciate you, and we look forward to having you with us for the next few months. So you're not allowed to rush off. But and thank you to the mariachi who showed up as a surprise at City Hall this morning. It was wonderful. So, all right. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Thank you, everybody.